What's up, guys? Kevin Allen here, aka The Geek from DFS Army and the Sharp app, and we're taking a look at PrizePicks UFC Fight Night. Yadong Simón going down this Saturday, April 28th. We're going to give you some plays from this one. We're going to get some more plays going. We're going to continue to smash, like we've been doing, these UFC MMA breakdowns on PrizePicks for the last few months since we've been doing them. And, of course, before I move forward and talk about this week's slate, you guys like accountability. I like accountability, see how we're doing. And here's my ticket from last week. We wound up going 2-1 with Carini Silva play getting wiped out. Most importantly, our core play of Brad Tavares less than 91.5 fantasy points absolutely crushed. He winds up losing the fight, so whatevs, but it was well on its way to crushing, I guess, because he was supposed to go to decision. He could have won, and we still were going to potentially win that one, and that's what I try to look for. So let me show you a little bit. Again, before we get into this week's card, I want to talk about, because a lot of you guys ask me, how do you play these? How do you use them? I even have people in the DFS Army PrizePicks Discord who constantly ask about pairs. We're dropping live MLB and NBA plays in the Discord constantly, and they're always like, well, it's just one, I can't play it, or it's the same game. That's what these are for. So let me just show you a little bit of, we talked about Brad Tavares last week as the core play. I said, use it everywhere. Use it in your pairs. This one is really good. I think we had a 70+% implied probability. About the best we're going to get to is about 66% on this breakdown. So we'll be pretty close. But we had about a 70+% implied probability that's hitting, which is great. And you use it on everything. So I didn't just use it there. I used it in some power plays. Of course, the Silva play didn't work out. The Tafa play didn't work out either. He lost. In fairness, if he wins that fight, that does hit. And I knew that. I was leaning Tafa, but I told you guys and I warned you guys that the Tafa play is not an odds play. It's better just play that on the sports book and take your L. So whatevs. We talked about that on the last card. But yeah, here's the Monty Jackson 2-pick combo. And here I'm adding, this player in with other random stuff. NBA plays. He helps you go from a loss to a winner potentially. I don't know why this one was refunded. I still don't understand what happened there. But I'm using the Tavares play. I'm using the core plays to add to other spots, right? I'm adding it in. So had this ticket been a little bit better, adding this winner in there really helps. So here's another horrible ticket, but who's the one winner? Tavares. So that's kind of how I play the week, and I do that throughout the week with tacos and all of that. So we'll have a couple of those going. So let's jump over to this week's breakdown. I really like this breakdown. So I'm kind of liking this week. Last week, we only really found like 2 or 3 good spots. I really only found 2 spots that I liked a lot, and we forced the Tafa play in there for the most part, and that didn't work out. But we acknowledged that when we were doing it. We said, listen, Tafa, there's no line value here. Well, one spot where we do have line value, and my first play on this ticket is Haley Cowan under 63.5 fantasy score. Now, here's the logic behind this one. And one of the things I always say is if you don't like my logic or understand it, don't play the play. If you do, then play it or fade it. Do what you got to do. But I have a logic to all of these. I'm looking for spots that we can skew better than your average Proptimizer spot, which will normally be 55, 57, 58% at best. So in effect, for normal plays on PrizePicks, as good as we can skew the odds in our favor is about 58, 59%, unless we're doing those live plays that Will Lynn's dropping in the DFS Army Discord or those kind of things where we can sometimes skew them up to 65. But again, you'll never get 5 or 6 of those. It's usually 1 or 2, maybe 3, but usually just 1 or 2. So I try to do a little bit better than that with the MMA play. So let's see where we can get to here. And remember, if you like this style of breakdown a little more in depth, you don't mind watching a breakdown video that goes for more than 5 or 6 minutes, let me know. Hit that like button, hit a comment. Let me know which of these plays you are tailing. All right. So starting with Haley Cowan, less than 63.5 fantasy score. Now let's take a look at the odds on Haley Cowan as a starting point. She is currently plus 117, meaning she is not favored to win this fight at all. She is a very slight underdog, but she is an underdog. So her opponent, Jamie Lynn Horth, is minus 137. On some other books, it's already up to minus 145. This is not even real. I went to check this on my bookie, this one, and that these are not even the correct odds. She is minus 140 on that as well. So Jamie Lynn is minus 140 to win, not Cowan. If Cowan does not win this fight, she does not hit the 63. She'll never get there. I think they're going to pull this prop real quick, which is one of the reasons why I'm dropping it in the DMFS Army Discord before this video comes out, because I don't know, you might be watching this and it could already be gone. But this is a really good spot, and at least I know my peoples, my subscribers will get in there. And if you want to subscribe to the DFS Army Discord and get all these picks as they're dropping, make sure you sign up using the link in the description below. The DFS Army prop subscription, you get the Proptimizer and the plays that we drop live all the time. You just get full tickets if you don't want to pay too much attention. I don't get that. I think you should pay attention, but if you just want picks and plays constantly, or a tool, which is awesome for comparative purposes, you get that with your DFS Army subscription, 20% off, promo code PICK20. It's in the link in the description below. So Haley Cowan's already not favored. So let's take a look. How does she get 63.5 if she is not favored? Well, she's got to win. And does she need to win inside the distance? I'm going to say no. Now, Cowan inside the distance is basically a plus 600 right here. You could see does not seem likely. So we're throwing that out. So Cowan by decision, plus 180, fine. Most likely situation, she wins by decision. So I think that there is a reasonable chance that even if she wins the decision, she won't hit this number. If we take a look at Haley Cowan's previous fight, and this doesn't tell a whole lot, but she was only landing a couple strikes per minute, one takedown, basically no action. So she won this decision and only scored, I'll tell you what she scored here. She won a decision against her previous opponent, only landed, I don't know. Well, let's pull it up here. She only landed 26 strikes, one takedown, 26 strikes times 6, 12, 15 points plus the takedown 20. So plus she only scored 40 in her previous win based on the fantasy point scoring system. Fantasy points is the best way to attack PrizePicks MMA props, I think. So I think there's let's give it a 20% chance that Haley Cowan can win and not even hit the number. And so that's the skew in our favor that I wanted. Now, if you're watching this fight and Haley Cowan wins inside the distance and you're like, Geek, how come you didn't predict that? Well, you know what? It's available for plus 600. If you think that's going to happen, you should hit the plus 600, make 6x. You don't need to pick 5, 6 different plays. You could just get the one spot and multiply your money by 6. Fine. But since I don't think that's going to happen, number one, she's not even favored to win. Number two, even if she does win by decision, I think there's a reasonable, at least 20 to 30% chance that even in decision win, she does not get this number. I like situations like that. Haley Cowan, first spot on the board. Okay, number two. This might be my favorite of them all, although I like all these plays quite a bit. But this one I think might be my favorite, and this is Julian Erosa under 99.5 fantasy score. And again, for a quick reminder, I know people assume that the scoring system is the same as DraftKings, for example. It's not. So for the quick reminder, how the scoring works, a decision win is a massive, massive drop down from an inside the distance win. Even a third round win gets you 50, right? A decision drops to 30. Now, at 99.5, it's really hard for someone who's not a grapple-heavy lunatic to get that kind of a score in a decision win, because that means you need to put up 80 win bonus points. So if it goes to decision, in order to get there with just strikes landed, he would need to land 80 points worth of strikes, which is somewhere in the range of 130 to 140 strikes landed. That is an unreasonably high amount of strikes for any fighter to land. Let's take a look at Erosa does have high action stats. He's landing 6 strikes on average per minute. We don't have any stats here for his opponent, so we got to go by what Erosa's doing. So he's landing 6 strikes per minute. Okay, well, let's multiply that out by a 15-minute fight. And now you're at 60 plus 30, you're at about 90. That doesn't get you there, right? 90 strikes landed. Even if he got 100, that'll get, so we went a little bit over. That gets you 60 points plus the 20 for the bonus. That's 80. Where do the other 20 fantasy points come from? Well, he'd have to get that with grappling. Well, if he's averaging 1.7, let's give him 2 takedowns. That's another 12. So 2 takedowns, 100 strikes landed. That's 72 plus 20, 92, does not get him to the 99. In effect, in order for Erosa to score over 100, outside of getting a bunch of knockdowns, that happened to us a couple weeks ago. Listen, shit happens, right? But I'm not counting on it. So outside of getting a bunch of knockdowns along the way, he will need to win inside the distance, or he's probably not going to get there. So taking a look at Erosa, who's only minus 150 to win, his inside the distance line is plus 155. So plus 155, or how about the doesn't win inside the distance number, minus 185. So let's normalize that. I'm going to take a quick run through the no VIG. So we're going to pull the VIG out of this. I'm just going to do a little bit of math here. And we got minus 185, and we've got plus 155 to get an implied probability here. Minus 185 with no VIG is minus 165 because you level those out. And that gets us a 62.34% chance. So in the case of this prop, based on the market odds for this, we've got a 62.3% chance of Erosa not winning inside the distance, period. He needs to win inside the distance to hit this number. So this puts us about just over 60% odds of this event occurring. I like that. The Cowan play may be a little better, but these are both really similar and both get us better than 60% chance of occurring. Okay, next up, we're going from fantasy points and we're moving over to takedowns. And the first one, I really like this one a lot as well. And I'm going to tell you the risk of it, but it's Caio Borrello more than 2 takedowns. Now, let's take a look at the relevant statistics here. And this is the key. Borrello is a takedown beast, averaging 2.5 takedowns per 15. But more importantly, his opponent, Michal Olashchuk, has a horrible 43% takedown defense. That's very, very bad. He's been bad off his back, and he's probably going to get taken down every single round of this fight. I don't know that he'll be able to get back up. So the number is over 2. He's averaging 2.23 takedowns per 15. Okay. Well, what do we need? We need multiple rounds to get there. So what is my fear here? My primary concern is that Caio gets 1 takedown and gets a submission, right? Like he doesn't need to get a second one, the first one, and he finishes the fight. So let's take a look at the inside the distance odds here and just understand how many rounds the prediction or the bettors are betting this fight will go. So over 1.5 rounds is minus 135. Fight starts round 2. Where is that? Yeah, all right. We'll go to 2.5. So I don't see the fight starts round 2 prop out yet. Or round 3. Yeah, we don't have that prop yet. So over 1.5 rounds, minus 135. Under 2.5 rounds, minus 160. So the expectation here is that we get about 1.5, that it ends somewhere in the second round. Okay, right? Or the beginning of the third. As long as we get 2 rounds, there's probably 2 takedowns in there. I think there's a very, very high risk here. And actually, we could take a look at Borrello's previous fights. And here's 2, here's 4, 1, here's 3. So on the Contender Series fight, he didn't even get a takedown. He just knocked his opponent right down, and got the win. Here we have a fight where his opponent was going for takedowns, and he only got 1. So that's the danger zone. And then, of course, the Petrosian fight, he gets 4 takedowns. I think this fight profiles very much like the Arman Petrosian fight in this. And here, Mahmoud Muradov is a wrestler. So, in those cases, he was up against a grappler. Here, he's up against the striker, and it doesn't make sense for him to stand and bang with Michal Oleksiejczuk. So he's more likely to go for takedowns. Now, again, with this one, I think we're extremely high likelihood of getting the push. The fight starts the first round. He gets one takedown. Second round, gets a takedown there. Maybe doesn't need a second one, gets a submission. So this is much more of a push risk. And for that reason, I don't love it. That's why the other two plays are better. I think we probably have a 60% or better shot of either hitting or pushing on this one, where the other two, I think, we're well over 60% just to hit. So this is a less good spot. It will be part of my mix, but not a primary one that I want to build around this week. And again, if you like this type of content, let me know. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're putting out PrizePicks videos constantly, and we break it down in depth. You got the whole team knocking these out of the park. And of course, if you want these plays before the video comes out, because if you're watching this, some of these have moved. Listen, nothing I can do, but we do drop these in the Discord in advance amongst tons of plays that we can't make videos for. Most of the plays that we're putting out, we can't put in a video because they're really timely. They come out, they're here, they're gone in 10 minutes, especially the live in-game stuff. I'm telling you, that is where it's at for PrizePicks. MMA and in-game by far. All right. Next up, Rodolfo Vieira, more than 1.5 takedowns. Now, once again, we're back in the same situation. Takedowns. What's the risk? Well, one of the risks is that a grappler gets one takedown and then he just finishes the fight with a submission. That's in play. Could happen. But when I look at some of the props, it doesn't appear to me. The expectation is this goes at least 1.5 rounds. If we get 1.5 rounds, there's probably enough time for that second takedown to happen. So I like this situation. Let's take a look at the stats for Vieira. Vieira is almost exclusively a BJJ grappling maniac. He is really kind of awkward and ganky on his feet. But interesting about this fight is his opponent is also primarily a grappler. And I think the opponent will actually be going for takedowns. And that's one of the risks here, is that we might have Cody Brundage stupidly going for a takedown, which means, Vieira might settle for that and reversals and that kind of thing. But if we look at Rodolfo Vieira as a whole, he's averaging 3.9 takedowns per 15 minutes. His opponent has mediocre, it's not horrible. It's pretty good. 68% takedown defense. Not bad. It's just okay. But that 68% has come against some pretty good grapplers. I'll be honest, particularly with Maximov's pretty good grappler. I don't know that the rest of these guys have gone for takedown. Actually, let's take a look at his history. So he was taken down by Dalcha Lombuco, who's not a grappler. Nick Maximov got him down 4 times. And William Knight wouldn't have attempted a takedown. So, Oleksiejczuk wouldn't have attempted it. So I'm sure Dalcha and Maximov probably attempted a bunch more takedowns before he got these 4. Fine. Now, if you take a look at Vieira, though, the man, in his 3 previous fights, he's got 3 against Pichota, and that's in just 2 rounds. He had 2 takedowns against Safarov in just 1 round. And against Fluffy Hernandez, he had 4 takedowns on his way to a loss, but in just 2 rounds. So the takedowns come fast and furious with Vieira. Here's 3 against Dustin Stoltzfus. I'm shocked that Stoltzfus survived as long as he did. And actually, I remember this fight, and Vieira kind of waited out the first round. He didn't even go for takedowns early. He was just kind of like taking his time, getting to know. But what he wants to do is get his opponents back. Now, you see here, he did not get any takedowns against Chris Curtis. It was a striking battle. But a lot of that was because Curtis has 100% takedowns. He's really good at stopping takedowns. That's not what Cody Brundage is about. Brundage is definitely much more of somebody a willing grappler. So he might come in and say, I'm going to defend takedowns. It could happen, and then we'll get burned. Like, he could all of a sudden be really good at this stuff. And Vieira doesn't really have like a path in striking to soften up his opponent for a takedown. So there is that. There's risk here. But the fact that Vieira is such a heavy favorite is skewing this in our favor. If Vieira is winning, it's not by striking. It's by grappling and getting takedowns. So I'm fine with it. I'm taking the shot over 1.5 takedowns for Rodolfo Vieira. A couple other spots that I like a lot here. And this one might be one of the better ones. I added it late to the mix This is my last ad, and it's Martin Buday, less than 71.5 fantasy score. And hear me out. Got a reasoning on this, and then we'll put the play in. Okay, so Martin Buday, Jay Collier. Buday is a heavyweight striker, not much grappling there. His opponent, same deal, just a big slob of a person. Not much going on there. Let's pull up their volume numbers, but neither guy is going for a takedown. Neither guy is doing any sort of grappling generally. And that's really, really important because my goal in these spots is to say, all right, A, he's got a 50% chance of losing the fight. Collier is actually favored. The line moved, and we don't normally get fantasy points on underdogs, right? Collier is now favored by a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Minus 117 to minus 103. It's not enough to move the needle, but at best, we have to assign Buday a 49% chance of just winning the fight, which means he's got a 51% chance of losing. And then if he loses, no chance of hitting that number. So now what happens if he wins? At 50%, 50-50 odds, we're not doing that. That's not a PrizePicks play. That's not how PrizePicks works. If you think that's how PrizePicks works, go watch a different channel. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. We want odds skewed greater than 50%. That's the metric that causes us to make money over time. So Buday doesn't win inside the distance is a massive minus 275. Okay, that's the key number. Minus 275. We'll translate that into minus 275. And then we'll do, what are the odds that he does win inside the distance? Plus 215, right? So they're assigning a 70. The no vig version of this is exactly 70%. So we've got a 70% chance that Buday doesn't win inside the distance in this fight. So let's start at 70. Now, what happens? What are the chances? And this is the important one. What are the chances that Buday wins a decision and also hits the over? Well, number one, we're talking 71.5. The decision is worth 20. That leaves us 51.5 fantasy points to go for Buday in order to get there. 51 fantasy points means he would need to land approximately, I think it was, I wrote this down, 88 significant strikes to get that 51. Well, Buday is averaging 4.59 strikes per minute. If we round that up to 5, we're at 25, 50, 75 significant strikes landed over the course of 3 rounds. He needs 88. It's only at 75. Now, Jay Collier is absorbing 5 strikes per minute. So again, we're right in that same boat. 75 significant strikes. He would need to get to 88. Yeah, 88 significant strikes to get here. So my point is, even if Buday wins this fight, and he is not favored to win, as long as it goes to decision, we've got about a 50% chance in that scenario by decision of him not getting there. Now, of course, if he has a knockdown along the way, that changes everything. But if you take a look down here, you'll see there's 0 grappling happening between pretty much both of these fighters. Now, there's the chance that Collier goes for a takedown at some point and Buday stops it and he gets the takedown defended or 2. But even that doesn't get you there. So I really like this spot. I think Buday can lose the fight, of course, and he doesn't get her. But more importantly, I think even if he does win, which is less than 50% likely to happen, even if he does win, as long as it goes to decision, which is the most likely way he might win this fight, although he could win inside the distance and blow this number up, like these are heavyweights. So anything can happen. But if you think he's going to win inside the distance and blow up this number, well, you should definitely be betting the plus 215 on Buday inside the distance. It's plus 215. You shouldn't. That's not a PrizePicks play. We play that on Sportsbook. So fine, you can hedge it if you need to. But in this scenario, I think that skews the number enough in our favor to where we're probably more than 60% to hit this spot. So I'm adding the Boudet less than 71.5 fantasy points. If you want to have some fun, we can add in today's taco as I am doing it during Taco Tuesday. We'll throw that in there for the mix just to see. This is not official. And our official picks are Haley Cowan, less than 63.5. Juicy J. Arosa, less than 99.5. Caio Borrello, more than 2 takedowns. Rodolfo Vieira, more than 1.5 takedowns. And Martin Boudet, less than 71.5 fantasy score. Ooh, okay. Go for $12.50. Get the big bucks. Boom. Let's do it. Oh, shit. I can only put 25 on a taco. That's unfortunate. So let's do that again for 25. Now, one of the other things I like to do, and you guys have asked me about like what else I do beyond just the 6-pack, which is not what I only will play. I will be using the Cowan and Arosa plays as pairs for whatever else pops up in the Discord, tacos, last minute plays, that kind of thing. I'm going to lean towards the Arosa one being my favorite, but both of these are really, really similar. So I'm down with that. I'm good with the Cowan one, whichever one it is. Those are my preferred. I kind of like the Boudet one as well, but I like them all. I'd say my least confident is Borrello because I think he might just get the 2. I do think, though, we're pretty safe with that one, but for the push. But I wish it was 1.5 so we can at least have a better shot of winning. So that's going to do it for this one. Again, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel if you want these videos and breakdowns constantly. Let me know in the comments who your favorite props are for this week's MMA card. And if you like this style where I take a little bit of extra time instead of just giving you 6 picks or 5 picks, but explaining why and why they're good plays on PrizePicks, let me know about that in the comment section below. Let me know if you crushed it last week with the Tavares play. Any appreciation about that. We've been crushing the core plays. I wish I had that level of a core play for this card. I don't. I have some good plays, but I don't have one that stands out above all the others as much as we've had in some of the previous weeks. So maybe something else will pop up over the course of the week. And of course, if you want to get subscribed at DFS Army for the props subscription, where you get access to the DFS Army Proptimizer, the ultimate tool for PrizePicks value identification. You just get it signed up at DFS Army for the props sub. I think it's $35 now. You get 20% off with promo code Pick'em20. It's in the link is in the description below. And so it wounds up like $28 a month. You get the Discord, you get the picks from Will Lynn, you get the picks from Sniper, myself, Mutt, Manus. Everybody's in there dropping plays, full accountability, and there's an awesome community built around PrizePicks. We're talking about it nonstop. And as a matter of fact, some of you guys who subscribe and are in the chat drop your picks, and they're awesome. They're just as good as what the coaches are dropping. Got people who are expert in esports and soccer and all kinds of crazy stuff. So we're going nonstop in the DFS Army Discord. Make sure to check that out as well. I will see you guys next time. Take care.